Come on in, Joe. Have a seat.
Thanks, Mr. President. What can I do for you today?
My poll numbers have been falling, so I'm working on the strategy for our 2012 campaign. I could really use your help.
Gladly. After all, we're in this together, aren't we, Barack?
Of course we are, Joe. So let's get to work. I think I should remind the voters of all that I've accomplished during my first term.
Okay. Like what?
Like the Affordable Health Care Act.
But any day now the Supreme Court could decide to overturn it.
Maybe they won't.
Maybe, but I wouldn't count on it if I were you.
Well, if they do, we can just blame the conservatives on the court, and point out all the good things that Obamacare would have accomplished.
Such as?
Such as driving down the overall cost of healthcare.
Actually, Barack, healthcare costs went up. And they're projected to go up again.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe we could point out that people could have kept their own doctor if they wanted to.
But a lot of doctors may close their practices if the government gets to decide how they have to practice medicine.
Well, then let's remind people that they could have kept their own insurance if they wanted to.
A lot of companies have said that they couldn't afford the higher premiums, and would have to drop their healthcare coverage altogether.
Well, there's been a lot of flack about the deficit. Let's point out that my healthcare plan was designed to pay for itself.
The Republicans know that our estimates use 10 years of revenue but only 6 years of expenses. They'll jump on that like circus clowns on a trampoline.
Then maybe I could just restate my personal belief that it was the right choice for all Americans. That would make me look like a strong leader, wouldn't it?
It might have, if you hadn't given waivers to all the big labor unions that supported you.
Oops. You're right, Joe. Maybe we should skip the details and talk about the transparency and the way it all came together.
Transparency? Are you smoking pot again? It's a 2,000-page bill, written in secret, voted on without reading it, and rammed through with special deals for supporters.
But they were transparent special deals, Joe.
They were only transparent because we got caught. Forget it, Barack. We'd get crucified.
Crucified? Wow, I just had a great idea, Joe. Let's pick another fight with the Catholic Church. The first one made news, didn't it?
Yes, and most of it was bad. And we ended up with more than 30 lawsuits.
That's no big deal. We get to use taxpayer money to defend them. And don't forget that going after the church got us news coverage for the war on women.
That war on women thing was a joke. Nobody but Nancy Pelosi and Sandra Fluck believed it. And to be honest, I'm not so sure about Sandra.
You mean the voters didn't believe that there was a war on women?
No way. I didn't even believe it. And I was never accused of being the smartest guy in the room. And why would I want to help pay for a woman's birth control unless I'm the one fooling around with her? Let her cheapskate boyfriend help pay for their playtime.
That seems insensitive, Joe. She's just a poor law student.
Poor? They went on vacation in Mexico right after her congressional appearance.
Sounds romantic. I hope she didn't go without her birth control.
Don't worry about it. She probably got her pills for a couple of bucks at Planned Parenthood. We still give them $500 million a year.
Oh good. Okay then, let's focus on my deficit reduction plan instead.
Do you actually have a plan?
Not really, but I just made another promise to reduce the deficit. It worked for me before. Pretty impressive, right?
Impressive? Barack, when you ran for office you promised to cut the deficit by 50% within 3 years. Now that would have been impressive. Instead, the deficit has grown by leaps and bounds and you've added more than $5 trillion to the national debt.
Come on, Joe. You know that the bank bailouts, the GM takeover, and loan guarantees for green companies cost money. Maybe we could argue that increasing the debt was a good thing.
How could saddling our children and grandchildren with a $15 trillion debt be a good thing?
Because more debt means that there would be more to cut, if we ever actually decided to cut anything. See how smart our out-of-control spending was?
Are you feeling okay, Barack? Can I get you an aspirin or something?
And the best part is that we don't really need to make cuts. We just need to get through the election. Then in my next term we'll be able to move the country even further left. America will become more like the rest of the world. Higher taxes, bigger government and more government control of everything. Awesome, huh?
Other than the occupiers and the far left, nobody wants America to be like the rest of the world. Europe is going broke. The Middle East is in chaos. And it gets worse from there.
True, but the voters aren't smart enough to know what's best for them. We need to make those decisions for them and just put the rules in place.
It'll never happen. The Republicans control the House, and they might take the Senate in 2012. They'd never stand for it. Did you forget about Congress?
How could I forget about Congress? It's one of those other two branches that has the nerve to consider itself equal to the executive branch. Who came up with that dumb idea anyway?
The framers of the Constitution, Barack. How could you not know that? You're a Harvard Law School graduate.
I must have been absent when we covered that chapter. I think I was out supporting a radical professor at the time.
Can we get back to the campaign? You've got to come up with something better than you have so far.
Sure. Let's run with my record on the environment. There's no room for criticism there. Right?
Wrong. You forgot about your handling of the BP spill. You delayed way too long, and then the EPA refused to use any new technology that they hadn't already approved. Really dumb.
Okay then, green energy companies. I looked to the future and made sure that they had what they needed.
Actually, only their CEOs, who were big donors to your campaign, got what they needed. Did you ever check out their salaries or bonuses? Most green companies are in financial trouble. And don't forget Solyndra going belly up. That cost taxpayers $500 million.
I didn't think anybody would notice. People are so touchy about stuff like that. Besides, think about all the jobs that my energy policies created.
What jobs? The Solyndra jobs are gone. Other green companies have very few employees. But you vetoed Keystone and all the jobs that came with it. Don't mention energy jobs. Okay?
Then what about other jobs? The stimulus created a bunch of jobs, didn't it? I can claim credit for that, can't I?
Actually, we lost more jobs than we created. And the handful of jobs the stimulus created cost taxpayers $533,000 for each one.
Wasn't it worth it to get people off the unemployment line?
If we'd given each one $100,000 to leave the country, and gave them another $33,000 to start a business wherever they went, we'd have saved $400,000 per person.
But then they wouldn't have been here to vote for me. But okay, let's not touch that one. Let's talk about the success of the Cash for Clunkers program instead.
Success? That whole program was a clunker. We paid people to trade in cars that they would have traded in anyway, and it cost the taxpayers $4,000 per trade.
Really? Wow. Okay then, what about Bin Laden? I got Bin Laden. Nobody can argue with that.
No, SEAL Team 6 got Bin Laden, and we got his location by waterboarding Al-Qaeda operatives. Then you try to prosecute the CIA people who did it. Don't open that can of worms.
Then I have another Bin Laden idea. What if I said that I personally led the raid on Bin Laden's compound? The details are all top secret, so who'd know?
Are you nuts, Barack? Everybody knows that you're not a Navy SEAL, and you could never be one. You couldn't survive 2 hours of Navy SEAL training.
But I'm in great shape, Joe. Haven't you ever seen that photo of me in my swim trunks? Or noticed how nimble I am on the White House basketball court?
Your staff always lets you drive to the hoop. They don't want to lose their cushy jobs. Everybody knows that you have absolutely no qualifications to be a Navy SEAL.
Don't be so negative, Joe. I had absolutely no qualifications to be president either, but here I am in the Oval Office.
Let me put it another way, Barack. You really don't want to get on the wrong side of a Navy SEAL. Those guys make Rambo look like Pee Wee Herman. Not even the Secret Service could save you, even if they weren't drunk or busy soliciting prostitutes. Besides, you already released the photo of all of us in the Situation Room at the time that Bin Laden was killed. Remember?
Oops. I forgot that little detail. Thanks, Joe. That could have really been embarrassing.
Look, Barack, none of those talking points will cut it with the American people. They care about where the country is headed. They watch Fox News. They watch Hannity and Bill O'Reilly. They even watch Glenn Beck on the internet. They post and tweet and send emails. It's scary how things have changed.
You know, Joe, I'm really troubled by all of this. It's like nothing I've done was appreciated. What's wrong with America anyway?
Sorry if I burst your bubble, Barack, but I thought you'd want to hear the truth before you started running a campaign that would crash and burn. But don't worry, I'll think of something. There must be some small accomplishment somewhere that you can take credit for. Like I said, we're in this together.
Right, Joe. It's you and me, together forever.
All right. I'm on it, boss. I'll get back to you right away if anything comes to me.
Hi, honey. How was your meeting with Joe?
It wasn't quite what I'd hoped for, Michelle. Could you get Hillary on the phone for me? I'd like to talk with her about taking the VP slot in 2012.
I don't have time to track her down right now. I'm busy planning our next vacation.
But I'm really concerned about how low my approval numbers have fallen.
Well, if it's higher numbers that you want, why not go play a round of golf? The numbers on your scorecard are always really high.
Turn out the lights, the party's over.